Hello, everyone. I want to talk today and help people understand how tariffs work because there's a lot of confusion. But with the Supreme Court ruling and everything else, let's go over how tariffs generally work and then what's happening now. So let's just take tariffs. So when we look at them, let's just say Donald Trump has the right to put a 10% global tariff just to make the math easy on everything. So you as a consumer go in and want to buy sugar, which generally speaking is imported. And that sugar producer may sell it for $10. Their cost of goods is $8 plus a $2 profit margin. So you as a consumer come in and buy it for $10. Then the tariff comes in, and now that sugar, which was $10 being imported, is now $11 because of that 10%. Because 10% of 10 is a dollar goes there. You as a consumer are going to pay that $11 with $1 going up to our government. So $1 goes to the government for that sugar, for that 10% tariff. So you're now responsible for that dollar. Well, let's take something different like soup, which is combined ingredients, but let's keep the same ratios just to make everything easy. So a can of soup, again, is $10, $8 to make, plus $2 margin. But when we look at the soup that's being imported, normally you buy it for this $10. But because the cost of goods, and we'll just make it easy, it's $5 of sugar and $3 of other stuff, plus 2 equals, because now the tariff comes into play, that $5 is now $5.50. So now you're paying $10.50. So you as a consumer comes in and buys that can of soup and goes, oh, it's up 50 cents. Well, the factory is paying that 50 cents to the government. You're not. You're just paying the new price of that. But what most people forget is most companies, almost every company, is going to keep the same profit ratio, which in this case is 0.25. So with 550, that price ratio no longer exists. So that now, which would be $8.50 because of the tariff, plus the ratio for profit now is 2125 to keep that same ratio. So you as a consumer now are paying, because again, they want to keep their ratios the same, $10.65. Or sorry, 625. And now you're paying this price, which is giving them, the company, an additional 0.125 of profit. And this is why you're seeing a lot of companies make more money from the tariffs, even though they're supposed to be losing money, but they're making money because they're keeping that profit ratio exactly the same between these two entities, of the cost of goods sold and the profit margin. So you as a consumer are now paying this for that can of soup, not this. Now, what we look at is this idea that they're going to introduce, or maybe thought about as rebates or returns for the tariffs. So if you bought sugar the government should give you $1, right? But if you bought the soup, the government should give $0 to you and should give 0.5 cents back to the factory that made, or the company that made this soup. But they also keep the additional 125 of additional profits. So when these rebates come back in, the company itself is now making of dollars back. You as a consumer get 0. So this ratio here, it's great for them to want to come back with those returns and rebates from the government, but in reality, you as a consumer from these rebates get nothing unless you bought the raw good itself, which is the raw sugar. The company itself will get back their 50 cents. They'll keep their 21.25 of additional profit, and you as a consumer will see nothing change. And most likely what will happen is, if the tariffs, let's just say, disappear, so that 10% disappears, the company most likely will then go back to $8 plus, because they were allowed to. So they're going to go back to the idea that this can of soup is now with this additional price that you're now paying, because they kept it there and they're not going to remove that profit margin anymore. They're going to keep it there and you're screwed out of everything. So this is the problem with the current tariffs and what's going on. Hope this was an acceptable explanation of how tariffs work and how you as a consumer get screwed every which way from tariffs.